It's 7 o'clock on Monday, June 10th. Let me call the Town of Boothbay Harbor Selectmen's meeting to order. Please, thank you. We have a full complement tonight and a busy agenda, so let's get to it. We have our recording secretary, Kelly Bigos, town manager, Tom Wooden, Selectman J.D. Warren, Russ Hoffman, I'm Bill Hamblin, Denise Griffin, and Robert Spillane. And in the audience, we have our financial officer, Julia Latter. First order of business is to approve the minutes of our May 28th, 2013 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, move we approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carried, the minutes are approved. That brings us to financials, and I'll turn the floor over to Julia.
You have your revenue and expense sheet. Total revenue, $7,036,226. Total expenses, $6,666,669. Does anyone have any questions on revenue and expenses? We are on target compared to this time last year. And we're at 97% taxes collected year to date as of today.
Excellent.
That's really good.
Really good. It's very good.
Very good.
Total accounts payable is $345,432.03. And the bank balance as of today was $2,522,176.12.
Any questions for Julia?
And Fred Brewer did call today to schedule the audit. I just told him today, so it'll be the second week in July. So
Great job. Thank you.
So we have, what, another 3 weeks before the end of the fiscal year?
we are waiting on some state revenues still. So.
Imagine that.
And a big one for the pump out boat reimbursement. You'll see that says 0 next to it. We're actually getting more than what we budgeted for that revenue for the float that we purchased this past year, so that should be coming shortly. We talked to Pam Parker last week, so DEP will be releasing those funds before the end of the fiscal year. So.
Okay. Is the following analysis fair? I mean, right now, we have an unexpended balance against our budget of about $600,000. You're seeing $300,000 in accounts payable per period, so that looks like maybe we'll end up a little bit under budget, or maybe more than a little bit under budget.
I mean, there are some auditing adjustments, obviously, and
Yeah.
some of the fish pier, like there's a bill tonight for the cooler,
Yeah.
then that will be adjusted tomorrow out of the fish pier expenses. So.
Yeah. But it's looking very good. So
It is.
congratulations to all departments. Looks like
Is
we'll end up where we said we were going to, and that's always a good thing.
Just one question. The enterprise account on the fish pier, since you mentioned it, is it still up in the 225, or have we?
No.
Pardon me?
We haven't spent that yet.
No, we haven't.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
our cap. For
Yeah, I know that, but that's still part of that number is still standing. Yeah, okay.
Well, we've expended from it what we've spent on the project, like for skip ride-out so far to date, the 1/3 of the project, and what we've expended from it so far has been washed from that account. So
Okay,
it's not what it was at the beginning of July 1st of last year, the balance.
no,
But the expenditures have been the budgeted
Right.
ones that we
Yep,
Right.
and like
allowed
tonight
for.
is for the cooler.
Yeah,
So
that should come
tomorrow
out of
it'll come
that.
back out,
Yeah.
and you'll see that on
Sure.
the report for this period.
Yeah.
You paid for John
Yeah.
that'll hurt it. So
Yeah.
did they bill us the whole thing on the cooler?
They did, and then, but they only wanted a half to make the purchase, so it's not on
It's half
tonight's
undelivered, the other half.
warrant, you'll see half of it.
So you've paid, like, Skip about 1/3?
Skip so far is 1/3.
Yeah. So
And
things
all
look
was-
like they're going along quite well down there.
Yeah, they do.
Everybody seems to be getting along. Good, great.
We like that. Anything else for Julia? Thank you, Julia. That brings us to town manager announcements. Tom, you have the floor.
Well, since we're just talking on this, as per our ordinances, I have a purchase order here for the cooler, which I'd like the board to approve signing this evening. You approved the amount at the last meeting, but this is sort of a technicality, so I would ask the board if you would vote to sign this evening. And half of this amount is one of the check that's on your warrants this evening for ordering the cooler. So
Was that about 70?
67,554.
Yeah. Well, I move we sign the purchase order this evening.
And we move to second it.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the cooler purchase order. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you. Just an update on the town meeting survey. As of today, the grand totals were 45 no, 50 yes for moving town meeting to Monday. I see you have under town manager updates a fish pier update. Do you want to get sort of a heads up?
Well, that
on
was
this one?
kind of what we just talked about, so.
Okay, right. Yeah, and, I mean, just to add on to that, the plywood deck is down now in order to pour the concrete on top of that. Once that's done, well, the rebar and the concrete, once that's done, Skip says it'll be a couple of weeks before anybody actually gets to travel on it. So, and I see we have it coming up later on in the agenda as well.
Yeah, to adjust the contract issues.
Okay. Tax acquired property. Rob Crawford suggested that for those properties that we have tax acquired that we know have personal belongings in them, even though we have touched base with many of those people, they certainly know that the properties have changed hands, but he suggests that we at least send certified letters to them all, giving them a certain time frame to get their personal belongings out before we put it up for sale. So I think since we're in no rush, that certainly is a prudent move to do.
What is the time frame?
Well, I mean, we can pick the time frame. I mean,
Okay.
I would say probably give them a couple of weeks. I mean,
I think we ought to pick a time frame, don't you? To get that, to get the material out of there, their own
We should, yes, I mean, the letter should have a
time.
time.
You can give
Yeah.
them a month, whatever you want. It's up to you.
Yeah, I
30
agree with
days.
that.
30 days.
I think we
Yeah.
should,
30
I think
days.
you should tell the people
Yeah.
that
Yep, you wanna give them 30 days?
30 days.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. So that's where that stands. After that lapses, then we will advertise the properties for sale. There's still an ad in the paper. It's coming down actually this week for Deputy Harbor Master. The applications for that are due by end of day Friday. Just so you know.
do we have applications in?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Very good.
And I think that's all that I have in this section for town manager announcements.
Okay, anything else for Tom? That brings us to public hearings. We have 5 victualers licenses and 2 liquor licenses to address tonight. The 5 victualers licenses are for Finn McCool's, a Class C, Atlantic Arc Inn, Class F, Eventide Specialties, Class B, Island Cow Ice Cream, Class C, and Thistle Inn, Class H.
I move we take these as a group.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we take these as a group. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. I will entertain a motion for approval.
Move we approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve these. I will note that some of these are new. They are not all renewals. The new ones is Finn McCool's, Atlantic Arc Inn, a B&B. Eventide is new. And then Island Cow Ice Cream is a renewal, and Thistle Inn is a renewal, I'm sure. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? It's unanimous. The 2 liquor licenses are for Carousel Music Theater, Malt Spiritus and Venus, and the Boathouse Bistro, Malt Spiritus and Venus. And I will note that both of the licenses have been initialed by the police chief.
We can take these together. I move that we do.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we take these together. All in favor? Motion carries.
Move we approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve these. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to the first public forum, and I'll turn the floor over to the public.
Sewell Maddox.
Sewell.
I missed the first couple minutes there of the fish pier update there, and I was wondering if there's an arrangement, are you gonna put structures back in, or is there a plan, or, going forward there, or I didn't know if you talked about that.
We haven't talked about that, and we will be talking about it a little bit later on when we talk about the contract. But yeah, there is, the overall plan is to remove the red building, which has been done, to rebuild the pier, which is in progress, and then to remove the white freezer building, and then most likely remove the concrete abutment that's in there now, and I won't say level it off, but make it a smooth grade. And then replace it with a single building which will house the coolers that you heard us talk about that have ordered, so they will go inside the building even though they're standalone units.
How big is that building?
It's about
Was it 30 by 60?
30 by 60, smaller than the two buildings we are removing, so there should be more room for parking and flow around the fish pier. And the exact siting of the building is still to be determined once we get things cleared off and take a look at it. That's the plan in large.
It should increase parking too, which will
Yeah.
help open up access to the boat ramp.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Helen?
I don't very often give compliments to the board, but this time I think if Jody's crew did it, it's very well done, and it's the sidewalks on the east side. I used to live on the east side, and it was terrible on walking, but when I went by the other day, it really looks good, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mike?
Yeah, Mike Tomko, 5910. Can you tell me, was the deputy harbor master position on the website or the town Facebook? I only asked because when I was looking for the survey, I did not see it on the Facebook page or the website.
No, I didn't put it on the Facebook page, and that was just by omission. And as far as the town website, I'm having a hard time getting any correspondence back and forth from Gary because he's so busy with all of his paying customers. So it didn't go on either of those, not just was advertised in the papers.
Okay. The harbor master, how about the survey for the town meeting?
That was on until today.
The Facebook page?
Yeah, we took it down today.
That's where I answered it.
Yeah,
I looked this past week and I couldn't find it, so,
yeah, it's been there since roughly a month.
sure. I guess I just encourage the board to realize that a low response does not mean that that's the will. It just means that that's a low response. You may not have gotten, the word may not have gotten out. You may have done a poor job of advertising it.
To me, the interesting thing is we have 100 responses, which is, it's not a huge number, but it's not a small number either. But it's split 50-50 right down the middle. I mean, that's the takeaway for me.
My takeaway is that in a town of 2,600 people, that's a poor response, and I don't think it's significant. I don't think it's telling at all, other than I think it's telling that we did a bad job of getting the word out.
I think that would equally apply, Mike, to town meeting, where we get 35 to 40 people. So in comparison to town meeting, it's a fantastic response. It's double. And I think we advertise town meeting pretty well. We hand out everybody a complete budget and report on the town. So to get 100 people, I would say is pretty good. While I agree with you that out of 2,700 people is horrendously horrible, but I suppose we could do what we could. We could probably get some kind of a audio truck driving around the town saying your presence is required at town meeting, or we could fine people for not attending. There's all kinds of options.
Food.
Yeah, free burgers.
Frank?
Yeah, Frank Fassett, two things. It is twice as many people who come to the town meetings, and I think the point is here, we're trying to figure out how to get the attendance up. And maybe moving it isn't the answer, maybe it doesn't look like it could hurt, it doesn't look like it would help based on that. But I think we have to keep exploring, how we can get a little bit, a lot more participation on that.
Yep.
Also, in the website, it seems to be fairly common that we're having trouble getting in touch with Gary, whoever Gary is. And it sounds like, to me, maybe Gary is a little too busy for, I take it that you keep saying for his paying customers, are we not paying him?
Right.
It's time, I think, that maybe we pay somebody to do that, because we're still talking about how the fish pier is up in the air on the town website. And you guys have done a great job with it, but you can't, blow your own horn on that if people are gonna be going to the website for updates short of coming in here. So I would ask that you look at exploring a alternate webmaster options.
I think there are two options to bear in there, and I agree with you, and I know Tom and I have had this discussion. I think the days of our getting free website is probably over. I think we should be paying so we get service.
So why would Gary?
The other thing that we're working toward is getting in-house training so that we can take control of it, and then we don't have to go outside at all, and we can update it ourselves. And I'm hopeful for that.
And that's what I keep reminding him
Yeah.
of, is that I'm willing to do it.
Yeah.
Just come on down and train me how to do it.
Yeah, do you have Apple or PC? What are you guys using?
PC.
Is PC? Yeah, Apple's much easier. Hey, I'm just, PC's difficult, you're right, it's a challenge. Apple is cut, paste, drop, it's pretty much easier, so. Anyway.
Anybody else? Bruce?
Apologize for my demeanor, I just
Could you sit somewhere, please?
was mowing the grass in front of my house and happened to notice that our little pond again is completely milky, muddy, brown. And being somewhat intelligent, I figured there must be a cause. So I drove up to Atlantic Avenue, and lo and behold, where all of you, with the exception of our newest selectmen, have been and investigated previously, there's some new construction going on, new house construction, including blasting. Now, there's not one iota of soil or erosion control, no silt fencing, no hay bales, nothing. And I would ask tomorrow, if you would, if you have time, if you can do it, take a ride down and take a look at the pond on Rhodes End. Take a look at the color, and then do the same thing I did, right up around Atlantic Avenue, and take a look at the source. And then please don't tell us again that it isn't happening and that there isn't a problem there, because there obviously is. And I really wish before the pond becomes non-existent that you might find some way of creating a solution.
Yes, I take that on board, and we will do that. It also seems to me there's a short-term and a long-term issue here, and the short-term is the construction. And Tom, I'd ask you to maybe speak to the code enforcement officer about checking out, should there be silt
I will.
controls on the construction, because that shouldn't exist.
No, it shouldn't happen.
That shouldn't happen no matter what, so.
And it is part of obviously, the problem has been going on for years. But we've looked at it even back 5 years ago when I was on the board, and looked at that particular project that was developing in its infancy. And said, well, there's a retention pond here, there's a little stream here, there's a culvert there, and it doesn't look like anything too dramatic. But it is dramatic, and it needs to be attended to, or eventually, I may not live long enough to see it, you may not either, but eventually that pond isn't gonna be there. And that's going to be a sad day. It's part of Booth Bay Harbor, has been for the past 60 or 70 years. It should continue to be there. But you need to take a look at it for your own edification, and then I think you might agree with me.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? So, that brings us to unfinished business, and the first piece of unfinished business is the task force final report, and I'll turn the floor over to former select person Valerie Young.
Hi, thank you, good evening.
Couldn't stay away, could you?
Not for long. I have copies of this, which I will give to each of you. And despite my original thought, I won't read it all word for word
Thank
tonight.
you.
It's quite long. And I have the official copy for you, I'm just gonna use it.
Okay, yeah.
But this is just the kind of final wrap-up of the task force that you created, that we created last summer. and it just kind of goes through how the task force was created and what we did, and our suggestions and how we ended business. We had our last meeting, it actually ended up being a little over a month ago, in the 1st of May. And so, just to summarize, we created the task force at the announcement of the service changes back in August. The 4 towns, Booth Bay, Harbor, Southport, and Edgecombe, formed a task force and worked collaboratively. We raised $90,000 in donations, and skilled volunteers came to analyze the data, and that was one thing that I was really impressed with, and that was a huge takeaway for me being involved with it, was the amount of talent and dedication in our community, and a lot of people came forward that you would never know. Well, they all live in our community here, so that was a wonderful part of it for me. We did hire a lawyer to analyze the decision, and he created a legal opinion paper. We did hire iVantage Health Analytics and the Gabaro Group to create a health study of the region, and we organized local referendums for supporting St. Andrew's Hospital and the Critical Access Hospital. And so, at the end of all of this gathering of information and collecting information, we resolved that we hope that Lincoln County Healthcare and Maine Health will continue to work in our community and work with the task force volunteers. The task force volunteers have created a nonprofit organization called the Booth Bay Region Health and Wellness Foundation, and they continue to meet on Tuesday evenings. They have a public meeting on this Tuesday at 7
Tomorrow,
p.m.
right?
Tomorrow, correct. We donated much of what we had gathered to that foundation, including some of the monies that we gathered. The remainder of our money, $10,000 of it went to the Booth Bay Region Ambulance Capital Improvement Fund. And we also suggest that the Lincoln County Healthcare and Maine Health continue working with their community advisory group that they have formed, and hopefully take task force volunteers onto that advisory group as well, because many of the people who joined the task force, though many of them were skilled and knew about the hospital and healthcare today, many of them did not, and they learned quite a bit in the process. So I think they're a good resource for our region to draw on, and I believe they'll continue working on healthcare issues with the hospital and beyond the hospital. So it is the end of the official town task force, and I thank you for letting me be your representative, and I enjoyed it as much
Most
as you
of the
can
time.
enjoy weekly meetings, and learned a lot, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you for being our representative. It was often, I know, a difficult position to be in, and you carried it off very well, so thank you for your time and service, and now you can gloat and enjoy your Monday nights
Right,
and Tuesday nights.
thank you.
Anything else from any of the board?
No. Great.
The next item under ongoing business is the Fish Pier contract. And my understanding here, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we initially let the contracts, and we were thinking of taking the white building down to the concrete, and then subsequent to that, at a meeting, and Sewell, you may have been part of the genesis of that, we talked about removing the concrete structure and how that would be a good idea. And I guess initially, E.M. Wood, who was the winner of the contract for the white building, thought he might be able to accommodate that. But he is, as he learns more, he's a little worried about it. And I know Jody has come in with a plan to address that. And E.M. Wood talked about going to a time and materials contract, and I think that's out of the question.
It's too dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, we should hold him to the original contract, and if we need to rebid the part of removing, or to bid the part of removing the concrete bunker. That's where I would, what I would suggest we do, but I will.
Would it make sense to meet with Public Works and talk out their ideas for if they were to remove the bed?
Yes, yes.
That way we'd know whether we're gonna bid it out or not.
Yes, I think our options are to bid it out, but also to explore with Public Works what Jody might be able to do, and perhaps at a lower cost to the town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bill, on that.
Yeah.
I think we should look at the public works if they can do it, have the time and do it, and then stay with the bid till we approved it.
Yep, I have a call into Eric just along that same lines as
Okay.
this morning. I didn't hear back from him, but I expect to still hold
Yeah.
him to his bid to
Right.
at least take the building down.
Yeah, and he, of course, would be welcome to bid on the second part
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
as well, if we bring that to bid, if we decide that we should do that.
I agree.
Comments from anybody else?
No, I think you have to honor the original bid,
Yeah.
and we have to,
Right.
you have to look at the legal side of that. So I would say that that bid is valid. As we all agree, that bid is valid, and it's on that bid that we based our decision-making. I know that there's been some discussion that Public Works might be able to help, and I'm sure they can. And I think
Yeah.
that makes sense, to
Yeah.
sit down with Public Works
Yeah.
and see what the whole cost is, and perhaps they work closely with Eric Wood,
Yep.
Yeah.
with Wood on the subject too, so
I
it
don't
might.
think Eric had any heartburn about taking the building down. It was once he started getting
Right.
into the concrete, he had a lot of heartburn on that.
I would say, I will say that as one of the group that sat in on some of the early meetings, on the fish pier, there was a substantial amount of discussion about what was underneath the freezer building. And many people had many ideas. It certainly ended up as being a mechanical mystery as to what was down there. 6 feet of this or 4 feet of that, and everybody had an idea. So it shouldn't have been that big a mystery anyway. But I think this is the right approach.
Okay, I'll set up a time to meet with
So-
Jody.
Yeah.
The
If- if-
scope of the job was to take the building down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here's,
Concrete, is that right?
yeah, here's the original contract that was let to EM Wood, and prices for demolition and removal from the site of all above-grade materials on the Fish Pier freezer building. The site is to be left swept clean for any further work.
It's the above grade, I think,
Yeah.
that is the key words there.
Because originally, we were just gonna rebuild on that spot,
Right.
and that's changed.
All right, we're done with that? Under unfinished business, last meeting, JD, we each brought our 3 top issues and discussed them. I don't want to put you on the spot tonight, but
I already have them.
you weren't here, but if you've got them, we'd love to hear them.
Well, there's one thing I'm proud of is that my big deal was, I said I would be, as a selectman, try very hard to increase businesses and business community and all that. That has been accomplished, but I'm gonna still work with that. And I've worked with Mike here and with the Chamber of Commerce, and we are beginning to move on different items, aren't we? And that is number 2. Number 3 is I'm gonna continue to, work with the fishermen on the fish pier and all that. And that's the 3 items that I wanted to do is to basically, I always said when I came on that we have to be business oriented. And that was my goal, was business oriented. I think I'm halfway there, but not all the way there. We never get all the way there, I don't think, but that's my goal.
Very good, I appreciate that. And I'll note, I was pleased, we had 3 new applications for victuals in town.
Yeah.
We don't see that
No,
many
we
new
don't.
ones
That's
every
good.
year, and so I don't know if that's a significant amount or
The
not. but
popcorn place has moved.
Yeah, they moved
Yeah.
down
I'm
to.
so happy I can go down there and get popcorn instead of the other place. But anyway, Bill, that was my main goal
All right.
this year.
Well, thanks so much. That's all I had under unfinished business. We've already talked about the survey. That brings us to new business. The first item under new business is town appointments.
quick summary of some of the changes, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. On the first page of your municipal appointments, Barbara Wilson's name has been removed from that since she has retired. And Jeff Smith has been added to that as picking up some of the clerical duties as administrative assistant in the assessor office, some of which is what Barbara did before. Actually, all of it is what Barbara did before, but a lot of those responsibilities went to Rob DePlissy, our assessor, as well. The other thing that's changed on that page is Reserve Police Officer Tom Klipowitz has been added to the list.
He needs some more vowels.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. There were no changes to page 2. And on page 3, which are our boards and committees, Andrew Shepherd is renewing his term on the planning board. There are still 2 vacancies on that board. There's 3 vacancies on the Board of Appeals. And Tony O'Neill, who has served 2 3-year consecutive terms, is not running again. So that's one of the vacancies that's appeared on that board.
Because he cannot, right?
He cannot, yeah. And in the Port Committee, Palmer Payne, Clive Farron, and Andrew Marvin have all signed up again. There are still 2 vacancies in the alternate positions there. On the Budget Committee, Lewis Burnham has decided not to serve again, so that is a vacancy. And Elise Roberts has taken out papers to serve again. We have a new person on the board, which I think you all have the applications that were handed out. Mohammed Osman, who was a local businessman from Osman Page LLC, an accounting firm. And Palmer Payne has also re-enlisted as our refuse district representative. And that is it. Those are the changes.
We don't get to vote in the elected officials?
No, no.
I would, with due respect, Mr. Chair, ask that we deal with these these committee appointments first.
Okay.
And
Anybody have any objection to that? I certainly don't.
there's a planning board person, and the planning board chair is here. Mr. Andrew Shepherd has applied for a position on the planning board.
And Andrew is continuing his position as a full member, and
You're happy with that?
outstanding, very thoughtful individual. And of course, you know, we do have the 2 new alternates that have joined. Their goal may be to switch to full-time members. They wanted to get their feet wet, feel how things were, and they also were concerned about the time commitment. Being an alternate, they're not held to the same commitment. And yet each one has said that they plan on being at as many, if not all, meetings as possible.
And I move we approve Mr. Andrew Shepherd,
I
planning
second
board.
that.
And move-
It's been moved and seconded. The only ones, point of process, Tom, the only ones we need to approve from the committees tonight are those that are, whose term goes to 2016, is that correct?
No, you have to appoint all of these.
We have to appoint all of these, so
Yeah.
there's a procedural issue that maybe we just want to take the
Take
page.
them as a group.
Well,
It's easier just
We
to
do
take
that?
the
But
paper.
that too, but.
There is, there is a motion on the floor. that has
Did we
been
do
moved and
these?
seconded,
Yeah,
for Andrew Shepherd. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Motion carries.
move that we approve Elise Roberts and Mohammed Osman to serve on the budget committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Mohammed Osman and Elise Roberts for the Budget Committee. Any discussion on this point? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
I move that we approve Andrew Moran, Palmer Payne, and Clive Farron for the Port Committee, and that we also appoint Palmer Payne as our representative on the Refuse District.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Palmer Payne, Clive Farron, Andrew Marvin for the Port Committee, and Palmer Payne for the Refuse District. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
Now, I guess it's the municipal officials.
But, am I confused on the process?
No, right,
Do-
yes.
Do we need to reappoint those?
Well, for the boards and committees, they've already been appointed for their
Appointed.
three-year
Term.
terms, so you're good there, but for
Okay.
municipal officials, that's a yearly.
Right, the unit?
Yeah.
Okay,
So having done all that, I have a question.
yes.
What's the process for filling the vacancies?
That's a
Is
great
that a-
question.
Talk to your friends and neighbors.
Get somebody to volunteer, right?
We do advertise in the newspaper. We do, I don't know if it's up on the Facebook page,
We
but I think
advertise
it
it
is.
anywhere we can, yeah.
But truth is, word of mouth, I think, has been more effective than any public announcements, and I tapped some of my friends, and I know Mike has tapped some of his friends to serve on the board, so.
Yeah.
So your quota is,
My goal for the year.
That doesn't say vacant, you may have those.
all right,
The charter requires that we reappoint all the people on the first page and all the people on the, basically, the second.
first and second page.
First and second pages, once a year. And there's several ways you can do it. We could do it en bloc, or we could, I personally do not approve of doing it en bloc, because there are three, or at least two people on the list that I would like to discuss in executive session.
I would suggest, and that's entirely reasonable, I would suggest then that we approve everyone except those two people and discuss those in executive session tonight.
All right, and I think it's inappropriate to make those people's names known.
Yeah, why don't you wait?
All right.
come out.
Why don't we
Take it
just
off.
wait to go, we'll go into executive session,
Fair
have a
enough.
quick discussion,
Fair
come
enough.
out of executive session and appoint everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Is the board okay with that? Yeah. That is the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The next item under new business is the Bowditch Road Consent Agreement, which I think you all have copies of. This is a consent agreement between Bowditch Road LLC and the town of Booth Bay Harbor. There was some clearing and cutting within the shoreline zone that was not permitted. The CEO has worked with the landowner and come up with a remediation plan, which is agreeable to the town and to the property owner. The property owner is paying for the town's legal costs and the remediation, that is the replanting of trees. And all in all, the report is it was a fairly amicable and
Very much so, yeah.
the process worked as it should. The homeowner said, gee, I didn't know, but I'm happy to make it right. And after some give and take on exactly what making it right meant, this is the agreement. And in return to signing this agreement, the town is agreeing not to impose further fines or penalties on the landlord. That's the summary. Further discussion.
I had a discussion with Mr. Morgan, and he's very happy with the outcome.
Yes.
And he regrets that something went wrong in the process and too many trees were cut, but he has taken all the appropriate steps to meet the town and the ordinance requirements and the DEP requirements, and he's happy on that subject.
Yes.
So
I had a similar conversation and agree entirely.
I thought perhaps you would have.
Yeah.
The matter, as far as I'm concerned, on the agenda for this evening is to approve that. And I think I would make a motion that we approve.
It's been moved and
Second.
seconded that we approve the consent agreement that you see before us for the Bowditch Road Consent Agreement. Any further discussion?
So what would the normal process be in the absence of such an agreement?
Well, in the absence of such an agreement, we would have to go, we would go forward. We would contact the DEP or as soon as the code enforcement officer was aware of the violation, he would contact the DEP and whatever other state bodies may be involved.
Right.
And expect that the property owner provide appropriate remedial action. I think that's the summary of the thing. In this particular case, because the clearing was done within a certain distance of the ocean, I think it was 375 feet, he, the homeowner.
250.
250. Realized that he had cut too many trees. And his choice is to remedy the situation once the remedial action has been determined. He doesn't get to determine it. The town gets to determine what it is, essentially.
The town has the ability to issue a cease and desist and to issue fines against the homeowner who does this. The way it should work is the homeowner should come to the
Right.
town and seek a permit,
Right.
and then proceed from there.
Sure.
So in this case, a professional arborist was hired and who worked and had a record with the DEP and with the town, I believe, and an appropriate and amicable relationship was, or not relationship, but certainly a solution was arrived at, and Mr. Morgan regrets that it happened. And I imagine the cost was quite large to replant.
It is.
I think it's well over $100,000, but there it is. So that's what happens. Thou shalt not cut trees down if you live within so many
Right.
feet of the
No,
water
I'm
without a
very
permit.
familiar with that.
Any further discussion?
I move that we accept, I did move that.
You did, it's all,
There you
it's all
go. It's
moved.
on the table. Seeing none, all in favor?
Thank you.
Motion carries. We've already discussed the new budget committee members. That brings us to the second public forum. I'll turn the floor over to the public again. Frank?
Yeah, Frank Bassett, Blue Bay Harbor. I commented last time how great I thought it was that most of you laid out your hopes and desires and dreams for what would happen in the town over the next year, what you want to accomplish. As great as I thought that was, I started wondering, I'm wondering if it's not appropriate to know what maybe our town manager would like to do for the next, maybe not tell us right this second, to be able to prepare for it, but, you know, get the website under control, or whatever the three things that you would share along the same lines as they came up with. I'd be curious to know, since you're got the hands on the wheel.
I can tell you what they have been in previous years, but I'll come up with three more for maybe the next meeting. Good, but
Great.
I mean, a couple of them certainly have been to improve the fish pier and to replace the cold storage building over at the Public Works. You know, one of the things I've always tried to do since being here is improve the infrastructure of the town, all the catch basins, culverts, the paving, the sidewalks, just improve the town as a general rule. Right off the top of my head, there's a lot of things that would be nice to do around here, but it all boils down to money. I mean, I think we all agree the footbridge enhancement is an awesome idea, and you could really make that tremendously attractive and a draw to the harbor. I think it deserves more discussion about what is it, and do you really want to spend that money to do it? But I mean, that certainly would be one for me. But I'll come up with some other ones. I mean,
Great. And I wouldn't worry so much about the how to get it done, but just the what's the pie in the sky, you know, and then maybe we can all help to find some common ground and figure out how to get there. We've got a tremendous amount of resources in this area with not only financial resources, but people and ideas and skills and all of that. And sometimes all it takes is an idea, and somebody says, "Oh, I can help with that." So, and that was what I got from you guys. And it would just be nice to round it out and hear from all of you. So, great.
Thank you.
I strongly urge that you read the town charter also as to Tom really is not supposed to have any projects that he doesn't obtain from the Board of Selectmen.
He must have some wants, needs, and desires that he can discuss.
Oh, I'm
can't
sure he does.
I suppressed them all, Frank.
he? Yeah, I'm not gonna read the charter, I'm just gonna ask questions and you can stop me.
Anyone else?
Oh, come on.
Ain't that smart?
Anyone else? Going once, going twice. We're now going to move into executive session under MRSA Section 4056A to discuss personnel matters. Boy,
It's been a while,
No,
hasn't
we're
it?
just been talking about you the whole time.
it's 9:06. We are out of executive session. It remains before us to address the annual appointment of municipal officials. I am looking at the sheet that was distributed to all of us tonight, and I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve all of the municipal officials as noted on pages 1 and 2.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve all of the municipal officials as listed on page 1 and 2 of this sheet. Is there any discussion on this point? Nope. Seeing none. All in favor? It's unanimous. The next order of business we need to address is the town manager annual salary, and I would entertain a motion.
I move that we provide to Mr. Thomas Wooden, our town manager, a 3% increase over his existing salary.
I second that. It's been moved and seconded for a 3% salary increase effective July 1st. Is that not correct? All right, any further discussion on this point? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is warrants.
Move that we approve the warrants upon their review.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrants upon their review. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. There can be no discussion. All in favor? We are adjourned.